All right. Good morning. This morning. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see so many of you here. Thank you to our faculty members who brought students. This is a good turnout. We appreciate it. My name is Troy Swanson. I'm the library department chair, and I'm very excited about our event today. It's kind of a unique opportunity for us to welcome representatives from the Workers Center for Racial Justice to talk about what they do and the good work they do. They're just up the road, offices in South Shore, but doing work across, I think, like all the South Side, and really with membership nationally, so it's really great. Our book this year, our One Book, One College book, is called The Dispossessed, and there's copies in the back by Tish if you would like to check one out. One of the themes of that book is thinking about class and capitalism and how we take care of each other and what our role is in society. So today's event is sort of a theme, even though our folks here are not talking about literature, talking about science fiction. The work that they do is part of the themes that are challenging us in this book, and that's the roots of this event and why we're doing it. I am honored to welcome Heather Wills, Taylor Trommel, Paige Borders is in the back taking pictures, and Mike Shamby. I'm excited to learn about this organization that is just sort of up the road from us and the good work that they do. And with that, I will turn it over to all of you. Thank you for your time, and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Troy. Good morning, everyone. Y'all don't have to be shy. Good morning. It's a blessing to be here with you all today. My name is Heather Wills. I'm blessed to serve as the Deputy Director at the Workers Center for Racial Justice, joined by my colleagues, Taylor, our Political Director, and Mike, our IDT, or Inclusive Democracy Team Organizer. So thank you all for having us. Thank you, Troy, for the invitation. We are excited to be here and share space with all of you to talk about the work that we do, but more or less to hear from you all about the work that we must do all together. So good morning again. Here's a quick agenda about what we will be talking about today, just so that you know where we're going in this next hour together. We're going to talk about what is power, who we are as the Workers Center for Racial Justice and our sister organization, the Center for Racial and Gender Equity, our wins, our accomplishments. We've been in existence since 2012. We do this work in Illinois and Wisconsin and nationally. So we want to let you all know what we've worked on, even the campaigns we're working on now, and then want to answer you all's questions and hear from you about what's important to change in your own communities. So sit back, feel free to dive deep with us, ask questions, be inquisitive. We are all a community this afternoon. So let's dig first into a power exercise just to get our bones moving, our minds thinking, and being considerate of the world around us. Does anyone know what this is? Yes? It's a hatchet. Standalone. Does this hatchet have any power? If this hatchet was sitting on this table, no. If it's a cold, breezy October 31st and Michael Myers is coming at you with the hatchets, does it have any power? Is it good power, or would you consider it bad power? But if there's a baby on the second floor and the hatchet is used to get through the window, is it good power or bad power? So many considerations about what power is and who has the power and what they do with it and what's happening around them. This is what power is. Power is neither good or bad. It's about who's in possession of it and how they use it. In the work that we do, because we are a political advocacy organization focused on Black liberation and an inclusive democracy for all people. In the work that we do, power is organizing people together to make changes. Power is organizing money to pay for the changes that we want to make. And power is creating ideas, creating campaigns, being intentional and thinking about the world around us and what we want to do to make it different. We choose to use our power for good, but there are also forces who use these same elements of power for their own benefits. I'll stop there. So there are three things that we want you to consider as we talk to you today about what we've won, who we are. It is because of the organized people, the organized money, the organized ideas that in 2012, formerly incarcerated workers came together and used their ideas to change the world. Taylor and Mike will talk more about our history and what we're doing, but we are the people that we are in this organization because we use our power to change the world. We recognize that nothing happens unless we push our power. When we go to Springfield to talk to our legislators, when we talk to them in our districts, when we go out and protest, these are all ways that we use our power. And we also recognize that elected officials are not going to come knocking on our doors, waiting for us to stand up and exercise our power. We have to be proactive and go out there and take it. And that is what we do. That is why we make our presence known in Springfield, in district, in our community, because we have to proactively make changes in our world. They will not just fall in our laps. But most important, you cannot do this work alone. None of the work that we have ever done has been one person, one organization, one idea, one movement, one meeting, one campaign. You don't do this work in silos. You must do this work with your community, with people who are like you, with people who are not like you, with people who agree with you, with people who don't agree with you. You have to do this work in community in order to raise the standard for everyone. This is why it is so important that we fight for an inclusive democracy for all people. We also think about our juxtaposition to power, how we are related to power. Do we have power over a situation? Do we have power to sneak up under a situation? Is our power confined within the boundaries or in conjunction with something else? Because this, as you stated, impacts our decision. If the house is on fire, that impacts how you wield that hatchet, right? It depends on what type of power you need to go into that situation with. It depends on how much force you go into that situation with. So power is always relative to the environment around you, and you should be considerate of that as you make change in your community. Now I'm going to turn it over to Taylor to give you a deeper dive about who we are as the Worker Center.
Awesome. I'm actually sit down if that's okay. I'm gonna sit down. If y'all can't see me, if y'all need me to stand up, just let me know. So the Worker Center for Racial Justice. So the Workers for Racial Justice, we're a grassroots Black advocacy organization. Sounds like a handful, right? But one of the things that I can say that we really stand on is being grassroots. And so what does grassroots mean? On the first slide, the title slide, it said power from the ground up, right? And so we work within communities to really have an understanding of what are the actual issues, right? It's easy to go around and say, hey, you're experiencing this problem of poverty, this is the solution, right? But for the Worker Center for Racial Justice and the way that we were founded, which I'll go to in a little bit, is based off of getting community input. And so in 2012, we were founded by a group of formerly incarcerated individuals. And when we were founded by those individuals, they actually had recently been I'm trying to look for the correct word, had been, sent back to society, released right from prison. And upon them being released from prison, they had actually spent a few years looking for job opportunities, and they couldn't find anything because of their record. And so those Black men and women came together and started this organization, the Worker Center for Racial Justice, to find solutions to how are we fighting for and maintaining the right to work, right, the dignity to work for people who are formerly incarcerated, and then from there it kind of spurred out a little bit. And so for the Worker Center for Racial Justice, we operate within our 3 pillars of justice. So the first one is justice reinvestment. The next one is childcare for all. And the last one is workers' rights workers' rights, dignity for work. And for justice reinvestment, no, you're okay. For justice reinvestment, I'm sure it's kind of self-explanatory, right? But it's criminal justice reform, right? We focus on how do we reform the criminal justice system from writing policies. We do protests and we do other operations of change, which I'll go into later as well. But one of the roots of how we actually operate and what we actually do is creating policy alongside community members in their neighborhoods, meeting them where they're at, canvassing in their neighborhoods to find solutions, immediate solutions that we could then write policy for, and then write policy for and with, right? And we'll go over some of those policies that we actually wrote up with our members in a minute. And then we also have workers' rights. Everybody should have the right to work, right? People have bills to pay. I know I have bills to pay. I don't have no kids, but my sister got a kid, and I know kids are expensive. And so with that being said, we all need jobs, right? Just because someone is incarcerated or someone has been incarcerated, or just because someone is living in poverty doesn't mean that they are omitted from the opportunity to be able to work for themselves and their families. The last one is childcare for all. And I know some folks are probably like, what does childcare have to do with all the things that I just said? The thing is that people have kids. Just because you are incarcerated doesn't mean you don't have a family to go back to. And so what we found was that a lot of former incarcerated members of ours had children who had to pay expensive childcare that also prevented them from either putting their kids in childcare, or it was preventative of the childcare system was preventative of maintaining a system that was open to the different hours of work, as well as it being expensive. Go to the next one. So now the theory of change. So how do we do this and what makes the most sense, right? For the Worker Center, and this works very similarly to Surge as well. But for the Worker Center, we have what we call the 4 Ps for our theory of change. And so these are the ways that these are the forms in which we participate, or ways in which we participate to create or constitute change. The first one is political education. We believe in educating our people. If we don't know anything, or if our people aren't aware of what's going on, the systems that be, then we're not able to have a collaborative conversations on how to actually effectively transform the system. The next is protest. We actually did a lot of protests very early on because we weren't always writing policies, y'all. But we did protests, and so protests have a very specific reasoning behind it, and it's to apply pressure, right? Apply pressure and to build awareness and to get people engaged, as generally the main 3. And so this is how we use protests inside of our work. The next one is policy advocacy. Like I said before, we work with people on the ground as well as other organizations, right? It's not just us writing policy by ourselves all the time. But we also work with other organizations. We work with neighbors, community members, anyone that we can reach who wants to change an issue, a thing. We work with them to advocate for policy in Springfield, on the federal level, and even on the state level, the Cook County level. Wherever there's government, we're going to be there. The last one is politics. And so politics is very general, but we have to engage in politics in order to make changes, because we have an understanding that, such as us writing laws to make systemic change, to reverse systemic changes, right? we have to engage in politics. So this means building relationships with community members, but also building relationships with our elected officials, right? Talking to them, letting them know that we're here. And then this kind of goes into the politics portion, kind of goes into the next, our sister organization, where we actually engage in electoral or elections as well. So, Surge, the Center for Racial and Gender Equity. This is my favorite. This is my favorite side. Because I love educating and mobilizing people to go out to vote. It's the most basic civic engagement and right that we have that we don't use as often as we should. And so for Surge was actually created, I believe, 3 years after the Worker Center for Racial Justice, and it was actually created because our members was like, hey, we need to start we need to start endorsing people and pushing people and electing people that actually want to push our issues and our platform. And so, you know, like we said, we do whatever the members say. And so we ended up creating SURGE, the Center for Racial and Gender Equity. And so what we do is create relationships within, we use the Worker Center as a grassroots platform for us to engage in community. And from there, we will create long-term relationships with community to continually engage them in the voter process or mobilization process for voting. And so what we do is engage Black voters, especially, we engage Black voters. We also will continue to push and elect people who will advance our platform. As you know, Black workers, Black families, and formerly incarcerated individuals will always be the center of this work that we do. And so we always maintain that, hey, we will endorse you depending on whether you are supportive of these things or laws that support these issues. So now legislative victories and actions. I just put a whole bunch on here. This is not all of it, y'all. And I wasn't gonna put it all on there for you, but feel free to read. But over the course of the years, we've done a lot. And I just put these are just some of the things from the past, like 4 years. And so one of the things that actually isn't on there is the ban the box legislation. How many of you all apply for jobs and see a box that says that you have to check if you're formerly incarcerated? You have to check a box? So ban the box legislation on the Worker Center and other organizations actually, what's the word I'm looking for? Eliminated the box that you have to check to say that you're formerly incarcerated on applications now. Yeah, it's on there, but it's optional. I do know that it's for different, obviously for certain jobs, you have to have a background check and everything. And so on the general sense, we were able to eliminate the ban the box check mark. And so we were able to do that in lockstep with other organizations who believe in the same fight. We also worked with the Illinois Black Caucus. Oh, you did? Okay, awesome. We also drafted language alongside the Illinois Black Caucus to create the Criminal Justice Omnibus Bill. Omnibus Bill is just a fancy word for saying we're going to put all of these different bills around criminal justice into one. And so we passed over 20 legislation post the murder of George Floyd and locks up with other organizations, and we actually led drafting legislation. Us and our members led legislation to we led legislation to basically, for starters, we led legislation to to eliminate the police, reform the police. I'm trying to find words here. No, not the gang database. It's the, let me see, I'm gonna help myself out to see if I can find the right word for it. To abolish prison gerrymandering, as well as, maybe I don't have it on there. Oh, outlawing the destruction of police records. There we go. Keyword destruction. So when people had altercations with police, you could report it, But when you reported it, you had to write your name and your contact information. And what had happened when people would report it was that they were retaliated against by the police. And so what we fought for was that they didn't have, we fought for that when you file a policeman misconduct, you're able to do it anonymously, so that you don't have to fear retaliation, basically. We also passed the Clean Slate Act through the House this year. Yeah, this year. And so the Clean Slate Act, we're going to talk about that soon, but the Clean Slate Act would be automate expungement and sealing for folks who are eligible. The next thing we also did was we've gone to DC for a few times. The last time we went to DC as a collective, we went to DC to march for full employment, and we had a stakeout in DC. We also passed the FREE Act, and the FREE Act was basically allowing for formerly incarcerated individuals to be executors of their loved one's estate after they passed. There's over 13,000 bills that provide barriers to formerly incarcerated people that are very outlandish, if I do say so myself. And so this was one of the ones that we were able to actually get through the finish line last year. And so I'm not going to read them all. There's a ton. And if you have any questions, we can definitely answer them, but I'll move on from here. So I mentioned coalition partners and like in partnership or lockstep with other organizations. These are just some of the organizations that we work with. I want to stress on the fact that we don't do this work alone. It's impossible to do this work alone. And it's also super important to stay in solidarity with one another. Just because we are a Black workers organization or a Black-led organization doesn't mean that we don't work with other organizations that aren't centered around Black people. And not even then, fighting for those rights is still in solidarity, because what we're fighting for is the same thing, right? We're fighting for inclusive democracy for all. And these organizations and countless others have that understanding, and that's why they're some of our closest partners. And I do want to shout out some of our super close partners on here, just because, I got to show a little love to them. But the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, we've been working with them for a very long time, since the very beginning. We do everything together, and we even hang out together. And so whatever they need and vice versa, we always do. And the Illinois Coalition to End Permanent Punishment, we work with them as well. Raise the Floor Alliance, I explained that earlier, but we're part of, that's a coalition of, so the NPP, otherwise known as the Coalition to End Permanent Punishment, was created to gather organizations that want to end permanent punishment, among those 13,000, targeting those 13,000 laws prohibiting or providing barriers to people who are formerly incarcerated. And so we work in lockstep with them around everything. The FREE Act was actually the ED of NPP. The FREE Act was actually a bill that he was pushing directly, because he was formerly incarcerated and was not able to be the executor of his father's estate after his father shortly passed away after he was released. And so this was a fight that was very dear to his heart, of course, but also our heart as well. The Clean Slate Illinois, we also work with the United African Organization, One Fair Wage, which targets to eliminate the sub-minimum wage of tip workers. They don't make minimum wage. If you all are tip workers, you all already know then. So what our fight for One Fair Wage is to get minimum wage with tips on top, right? And then also community change. I can go into all of this later on for sure with more questions, but just to name and shout out some of our coalition partners that are our closest. So our electoral victories. I'm not going to spend too long on this, but so the Workers Center for Racial Justice is a C3 organization. A 501c3 doesn't allow us to be to endorse candidates, or even to text candidates to to advocate for candidates to get voted on or voted for. And so we created the Center for Racial and Gender Equity, which is a C4 organization. C4 and C3 is really like super important in terms of taxes. But the C4 organization was created so that we had the opportunity to have more power and to put people in position to fight for the policies and the issues that we actually care about as a community, and also to keep them there. And so some of the things, so I know Heather said before, we are in both states. We're in Illinois and Wisconsin. We opened our office in Wisconsin in 2023. We've been in Wisconsin since 2019, just like canvassing and working in Wisconsin on their electoral stuff and just supporting the presidential races. And then after a while, we were, because we're a grassroots organization, we were like, hey, we understand that we're coming here all the time, but we feel some type of way about coming here, knocking on the doors and these communities, and then having to leave right after, which is what we hear all the time. I'm sure you all hear is like, oh, I only see my elected official when it's time for election. We didn't want to be that type of organization in another state, and so we talked to our partners in Wisconsin. They welcomed us in. It was like, hey, yes, you should open your organization doors here. And we've been working with them ever since, both on electoral issues as well as our other issues that are require advocacy, policy advocacy. And so some of the things we've done in Wisconsin is we've won 2 Supreme Court races. We won the U.S. Senate race for Tammy Baldwin, which at the time maintained the Democratic population on the Senate side. We also participated in 2 presidential elections. We had the re-election of Tony Evers. Obviously, for both states, we do text messages, we door knock, and we phone bank. Last year, we actually door knocked between Illinois and Wisconsin 300,000 doors. That was our first time doing that. We hope that we can get just as much or more doors this year or next year. Next year I should say, because that's election season for sure. In Illinois, we've done very similar things. We flipped congressional districts from Republican to Democratic. And then we also, one of my favorite things is that, one of the things that we do, we have an endorsement committee with our organization. And so we have members that are part of the endorsement committee, and part of that political education is making sure that they have leadership development opportunities throughout their time of membership. And so one of the things that we did in 2023, and I'm gonna do a shout out to our deputy director very soon, but we endorsed 4 of our members who actually ran for office. Heather Wills ran for the 18th Ward Alderman. And we had Desmond Yancey, who ran for 5th Ward Alderman. Anthony Bryant, who ran for the newly created elected position, which is the Police District Council members, which oversees police oversight in community or police districts in Chicago, as well as Crystal Peters, who ran for the 7th Police District Council member. And so right now, currently, we have Anthony Bryant won his race, but he run his race, and then Desmond Yancey is the current 5th Ward Alderman of the 5th Ward in Chicago. And so this is just a tale of the type of political development and leadership and movement building that we aspire to have. Not everyone will become a politician, right? And we don't need everyone to be in the government. We need everybody else everywhere else as well. But this is just a tie to tell. I know Heather has her own story and history of her story, so I don't want to take her shine, because you all can feel free to ask her questions about that as well. But yeah, so those are some of our electoral victories, just to name a few. And so I do want to mention, we talked about organized money before, and so one of the things that the Worker Center and Surge are very proud of is that we do not accept state funding. And one of the reasons that we don't accept state funding is because usually when you have grant money or what have you, you have to work within certain requirements, or you have to work within certain requirements, or you have eligibility requirements. And so one of the things that we have done as an organization is we actually also build our money from the ground up. And so we have, I think 25% of our budget is from our monthly donors, which is a lot. As well as, we talk to other foundations as well who believe in our mission and who also give to the good fight, if you will. And we believe that having non-discretional funding gives us the opportunity to operate in the way that not that we need to as people who work here, but also as the community needs us to. Because if the community needs us to address an issue a certain type of way, whether it be protests or whether it be creating a policy, we want to be able to do that and empower them as well at the same time. And so this is a very, very, very important part of the way that we operate as an organization. And so now I'm going to pass it to Michael to talk about our campaigns.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I see the Bears shirt, so we won this week. Great. Okay. Truth is, our communities are a reflection of our time, energy, and perspective, basically of where we come from and who we live at, right? The barriers to employment and the lack of investment in our neighborhoods. We're facing a lot of poverty, we're facing a lot of decriminalization, and we have a lot of barriers to employment, right? So, but we're also facing opportunities. We're facing good opportunities. At WCRJ, we believe that change comes when everybody comes together and they believe in that change. Together, we can do the policies and practices that uplift us. And today, I want to walk you through some of the campaigns we're leading in Illinois. The first campaign we are leading is the Safer Communities Act. I'm sorry, I'm reading this too fast. I'm going to go back. Here at WCRJ, we see our campaigns as economic engines for communities, whether it's fighting for guaranteed income, expungement, access, or ensuring fair employment. It's about making sure these resources are flowing back into our working class communities. That's very important, working back and providing back to our working class communities. So today I'll talk about the 4 areas of work that we are doing. The Safer Communities Act, the Illinois Clean Slate Act, the Illinois Future Fund, and also our ongoing expungement reentry work. We'll start with the Safer Communities Act because it's pretty simple. This bill is about creating a pathway for employment for people returning home from incarceration, okay? Right now, Illinois spends $2 billion per year, $2 billion on prisons, but far less on people coming home for re-education, rebuildment of their lives and programs of that such. The Safer Community Acts, we flipped the script. We would create subsidized jobs, okay? Program for formerly incarcerated individuals, making sure they have a fair shot at a good job, because everybody deserves a fair shot, right? Instead of the door being slammed in their face. Myself, it's happened to me. I went for a job. Things were bad, and they slammed the door because I was formally convicted. So that's what I mean. Think about it. When somebody comes home from prison, it's kind of tough, right? It's kind of hard. So it just doesn't affect them. It affects their neighborhood, the people they come home to, and their families. So the Safer Communities Act, it's about safety through stability, making sure people earn work, earn income, and contribute back to their community, okay? The numbers show this research, and Employment reduces recidivism and strengthens communities. It's not just a criminal justice bill. We believe it's an economic justice bill. Okay? I'm going to go into the Clean Slate Act. Right now in Illinois, hundreds of thousands of people are living with old records that show up when they apply for a job. Even if they've already served their time, that record can stop you from getting a job, employment, or even going to school. Here at WCRJ, we believe we are speaking to workers who can't advance in their careers and neighbors who can't secure stable housing, all of because of a record years ago. The Clean Slate Act says once you've paid your debt, you have a fair shot to move forward. Once you've done your time, paid your felony or crime, whatever it is, it should be gone. So that's how we believe it is. Now let's talk about the Future Guaranteed Income Fund. This is a push for a permanent guaranteed income program across the state. The idea is simple. Every month, those in need will receive direct cash payments, no strings attached, cover their basic needs, okay? You might be thinking that doesn't sound true, but actually it is true because these programs have already been tested here in Chicago, Evanston, LA, and Stockton, California. Okay, it's already been there. Guaranteed income, people use this money for groceries, childcare. They experience less stress, and they're able to focus on school and training because it's hard to focus on the things you need when you're worried about how you're going to pay your rent, right? So that helps. Guaranteed income doesn't replace work. It makes it possible, okay? It's a foundation, and for Black and working class communities who have been systematically excluded from wealth, this is a game changer, okay? Expungement and reentry work. This is something that I am passionate about because a lot of people in my community have been through this. Expungement, even as we fight for a clean slate, WCRJ is on the ground helping people with their records today. Today we run expungement clinics, we do legal resources, and we also do resource fairs, okay? Across the state, we help people file petitions, navigate the court process, and also explain to connect services that make entry possible. Because there are a lot of barriers to reentry that you all don't know about, but we're going to teach you about. Basically, we run those clinics, and it's not about clearing a record, it's just about opening doors to jobs, to housing, to other opportunities. You might be the next president, next alderman. You know where you're going, so we're going to try to get you there. Once again, because every time we help someone seal or expunge a record, we're not just helping an individual, we're helping a community. So we're here to help the family, we're here to help entire communities stabilize, and we're just gonna basically benefits from this stability. So in closing, what does that all mean? The Safer Communities Act, the Clean Slate, the Illinois Future Fund, and our expungement work all share one vision. We are building stronger, safer, and liberated communities, okay? None of this happens without people. It doesn't happen without us, it doesn't happen without Taylor, it doesn't happen without you. So students, neighbors, workers, leaders, you are all encouraged. You don't have to be a lawyer or a politician to make a difference. You just have to believe. And we deserve better, and we're willing to act on it, okay? Now I'm going to turn this over to Heather Wills, our executive director.
Michael took us to church with the end of Obama's speech. You don't have to. All you gotta do is believe and act. I was about to open the doors of the church and get the plate and pass around for offering, okay? Take advantage of the moment. I know that was a lot of information, but that's still only a little bit about who we are, what we've done, and what we do. At the end of the day, we are people trying to make a change. We see the world around us. We are impacted people trying to make a change so that the future generations, and it doesn't seem like so long, I was just in college, oh, the days. But so our future generations and the generations after us and the generations after them have a better life. As a Black liberation organization, I can certainly say without fear of contradiction that the United States we are living in today is not the one that we are pleased with. And so we are fighting for an inclusive democracy for all people so that we all have the freedom to live and live abundant, thriving lives. So I want to open it up to you all for questions that you all have of us. If you just want to pick our brains about the work that we're doing, give us any suggestions about some work that is happening in your communities that we can work with you to lift up, or if you have any questions about what we talked about today.
Can I jump in real quick? I just wanted to, while we have a kind of a pause, Shania Gray's class is ending, and maybe this is a good time if you have another class or you need to go to work for Shania's class to be able to exit, and everyone else stay. Don't everyone run away. And if you can stay so we can do questions. But before we get in the middle of things, maybe we can just pause for a second and let folks vanish if they need to.
Folks heading out, have a great day. Stay well, be well.
Thank you. And then I'd love to be able to get questions on the microphone. I can
Perfect.
go around.
Thanks
Be
so
good.
much.
So I see a hand here.
And we did leave literature. So if you all are interested in becoming members, feel free to drop off that literature or hit us up on our website. You can access that same information to join in with us. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks for coming. Obviously, pretty much everybody feels under attack these days, but we're wondering if you had any advice for my LGBT students, if there are any good local organizations they could join kind of in solidarity with yours, or any ones that you know of that, if they want to do some organizing?
The Workers Center for Racial Justice is an inclusive organization because we believe in an inclusive democracy for all, but organizations I would recommend in the Chicagoland area are organizations like Brave Space Alliance, who do work specifically around LGBTQ folks, building community, and making sure that folks have resources in order to have a plentiful life once again, but also that policy work. On the C4 side, I will talk about organization, and C4 means the political side. So C3 is a nonprofit, C4 is the political. So on the political side, I would say orgs like Equality Illinois, who push for, once again, elected candidates that support LGBTQ rights.
And they do a lot of legislative work as well.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody else? Go ahead, please. I have wristbands for questions. Want to do a trade-off?
I've got a quick question about your organization and how it works with youth. Are there any events that youth can go to enjoy themselves and interact with their community and your organization?
There have not been a target toward youth specifically, but definitely towards childcare. That's part of our childcare for all pillar. So in every event that we have, we try to make sure that childcare or child activities are included. However, the reason that we do our work primarily with non-youth over 18 is because of the voter engagement piece. So it works hand in hand in that way. That's kind of how our pillars came about, because it was centered around politics, which is also always about voter engagement. Now, let me pause there. Like I said, the Workers Center for Racial Justice, this is only a piece of what we do, because I guarantee you, each of us does this work outside of the Workers Center. Like, we come to work 10 to 6, and then we go out on the weekends to organize again.
Yeah.
I'm in an organization called the Coalition of African American Leaders, in which we do youth organization work, in which we are pushing a bill to support youth empowerment so that seniors are registered to vote before they graduate. So the work that we do in the Worker Center sets us up for being able to do this work in other places. Taylor is in other organizations just the same. And just because we don't do it in this work or under this name does not mean we're not doing it somewhere.
I do want to say too that another organization I want to lift up that works with young folks is Young Invincible. Young Invincible is a really great organization. We've worked with them a lot, either in Springfield or with other things, because even though we don't have education as a consistent fight that we have, we still believe in education, and so with the education, healthcare, all of the things, right? I do want to say, in terms of youth, one of the things that we offer outright in terms of like what we have the capacity to do outside of like C4, because over 18, we can't have people canvassing that are under the age of 18, like legally. But we do have political education opportunities, and so we have gone to schools, we've hosted events, we've had block clubs, we've had fairs, we've had a lot of different things to engage the youth. It's just in terms of like engagement and political education, it's just difficult, such as what Heather said, just the capacity of which we operate to continue to engage them, but we do make sure that folks get access to other organizations as well.
That's why we're here. That's why we're trying to be active in the community just the same. Yeah. So thank you for lifting that up. Mm-hmm. Does anyone else have a question or a comment? Please.
What have you guys found are the best strategies to kind of get the word out there for your events? I know you guys have been working for a long time, so from 2012 to 2025, it must have changed your strategies of like social media and trying to get the word out there.
Yeah.
Paige is our development and comms associate. I will pass it to her. That's her wheelhouse.
Hi. I don't know if this is working.
Yeah, it is. You're good.
Well, we had to switch kind of to digital organizing, which relies heavily on social media. So anything we can do to get posts lifted, sharing with anyone's individual community helps out. TikTok obviously is something that's huge right now, so still working out the kinks in that. But we rely pretty heavily on Impactive, which is an app where we can reach out to people via text. There's also Friend of Friend on Impactive, which allows people to sign up and help us share our campaigns by sending to their own contacts. That tends to work a little bit better since people I don't know how many of you reply to texts that you get from people you don't actually know, but I know I usually don't, so having a text from someone you actually know is a good way to get people out to events and encouraged. Also, just making sure that there's things at events that people want to attend, like incentives and things that just intrigue people, things that actually impact everyone. Having a good variety of resources is a good way to get people to attend as well. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Okay. I just have a comment. I want to say thank you for the pivotal work you do within our communities. Prior to working at Moraine, I work with unhoused, formerly incarcerated, often struggling with mental illness individuals, like downtown on the streets of Chicago in shelters and so on. And sadly, 90% of them were African American males, right? A lot of them had a drug history, so a lot of it was nonviolent offenses. And I would work with them, and they would be so excited when they were released, and they were anxious looking for a job. They wanted to support their family and everything. And then as I worked with them over time, I would see the disappointment on their faces, the discouragement that came about because everywhere they tried to get a job, they couldn't because of their background, right? And you see how disheartening this was and how this would lead to recidivism. So I'm thankful for the work you do. Do you also partner with the Safer Foundation?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it is very important work when it comes to issues of justice and equity, because if you've already paid the price by being incarcerated, why are you forcing individuals to pay the price almost for life. You know.
Right.
Thank you so much for lifting that up. We appreciate you. Did I give you a wristband? I apologize. I was in it with you.
Yeah. I do want to say that in terms of like how housing is a very huge problem for everyone, but specifically talking about the FIP community, which stands for formerly incarcerated individuals. If you ever hear an organizer say an acronym, say, hey, like, please spell that out for me, because we're really good at saying acronyms. But I know that in Wisconsin, because in Wisconsin, actually, people who are formerly incarcerated who are still on parole or probation can't vote. And they won't be able to vote for 20 plus years because they're consistently on parole and probation. And very similarly to Illinois, there are other barriers as well, such as the housing situation. And so there are 2 bills right now in the state level that we're pushing alongside the Coalition to End Permanent Punishment. They're not the ones who created the bill, but they're the ones kind of hosting the bill and operating within the coalition to get that done. And so, yeah, I want to say thank you for lifting that up, because housing is something that our members will come to us every day. If they're not asking for work, they're asking for housing support. And so it's a really big problem.
You have a question, go ahead. And then I want to switch it up and ask y'all some questions. Go ahead.
It's not so much a question, but to say thank you. Like, so much love and gratitude for all that you do. And I'm not sure how you've been able, with your partners like ICER and some of the other collectives and organizations that you work with, we're able to push some really crucial policies. I co-founded an organization, really it's a collective. It's called Mamas Activating Movements for Abolition and Solidarity. We need to connect,
Yes.
We need to talk. So we work with predominantly Black mothers, caregivers, biological or non-biological mamas. We also have a papa in our group whose loved ones have been wrongfully incarcerated. And we're finding that as they're slowly coming home to their families, that of course they're struggling with the very same issues that you described as part of the work that you all do, right? Employment, housing, basically everything that you all talked about. So thank you, and would love to meet and see how we can collaborate.
Yes.
Absolutely, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for the work that you do.
Absolutely. So I have a question for y'all. Who here grew up in a space where voting was encouraged? Or you saw whomever took care of you voting, and you are aware of what it is?
She was really ready. This one right here.
All right. Who here has voted before? Who here plans to vote in the upcoming election in 2026?
All righty then.
You're good.
Who here has not voted before but plans to vote in the upcoming election?
Yeah, don't be scared. Raise them high. Raise them high.
And the reason I'm asking this because I want to hear from y'all. Y'all the young people. Safe space. What has kept you voting? What has changed your mind about voting? But most all, what are you looking to accomplish when you vote? Anyone? Or just general feelings about what we're talking about?
That young
Go
man
ahead.
has his hand
Yeah,
raised.
don't feel shy. We've knocked a lot of doors, so we've had a lot of conversations.
I would hope to accomplish maintaining my rights. And I am not an adult yet, so I have not been able to vote legally. But I am definitely planning on it, and I have been encouraged by my whole family.
I believe your hand was up as well. Is that correct? And you didn't get a wristband yet, so you're getting one. And you having a Christmas shirt, so you might get two. But.
Thank you. What just really what encouraged me to vote the first time was just like seeing all this messed up stuff happening, and then it's like, okay, I'm voting, so I can get my voice out there somehow, and then just see what happens.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
You want to say something? You look like you're just ready.
Anyone else want to chime in about voting, their own voting experience, why they vote, why they are going to vote?
I wanna actually put a personal story as the political director of the Worker Center. So I actually didn't vote in my first election that I was actually legally able to vote. I did not vote, and I did not vote because I had no idea what to do, and I was intimidated. I saw this long paper with all of these words, and it's like 2 coded colors with black text. It was very intimidating. I didn't do the research, right? And I just didn't feel like I had the information I needed to feel confident enough to do it, right? And so I only say that because I understand, I know there's some people who don't believe in voting, right? But there's other folks that are intimidated or feel any of the ways that I felt about voting, right? And this is not a shaming thing that we're doing. It's a thing that like is necessary for us to participate in as the very few things that we can do, right? We're not asking you to go out to protest with us all the time, right? I know my dad during the George Floyd, the Black Lives Matter protest then, he was like, well, you can read and write. You don't gotta go out there. And so there's different ways of being a part of movement work or a part of change, and voting is just one avenue to do it. And so I only wanted to share my story because I know some folks, you don't have to feel bad about it. You shouldn't feel shameful about it, as long as you're open to learning more about it. And learning more, either it's questioning your peers, your professors. I'm not sure what the community student engagement space looks like here, but talk to somebody there. There's access to it. And then I also want to say that voting, we've in other countries that we've gone to and asked them about voting, because we do. This is a part of our solidarity work, seeing what other organizations are doing outside of the United States, and how they're operating. A lot of these states or countries, they vote because it's inherently the culture of voting. And in the U.S., we don't have that type of culture where we go out to vote for a number of different reasons that I won't go into. That's a whole nother presentation. But with that being said, if you feel those emotions or feelings about voting, please don't let that deter you from participating. I swear to you, once you do it the first time, it will get easier.
Right, because I fill in my mail-in ballot at the table with my ballotready.com on my phone next to me, and I just go through, like, it does get easier. But let me pivot to that point that voting is not the only way. Are there folks here who are involved in community organizations or student organizations around organizing any topic? It doesn't have to be formerly incarcerated folks. It could be around the environment or housing or healthcare, any social concerns or issues that you talk to your peers or your community about. Folks, have you all been to protests? Can I get some show of hands about like that? What does that look like? Protests, student organizations, community organizations, maybe your place of worship. Maybe your household, your parent is like a tyrant. They make you go to all the community meetings until 10 p.m. Let me ask this last question then. After what you've heard today, after even these questions, how many of you are interested in making change using your own power in your community? Yeah, that's actually a big woohoo. Seriously.
A A lot of hands.
Heather, your theory of change, I think, is really interesting, and I think students may not understand or think about this very much. And one thing we've talked about at events in the past in here is that, especially at a community college, so much of our lives is controlled by what happens in Springfield. So tuition is directly connected to what the budget is in Springfield. Our curriculum, the classes you take, directly connected to what they decide to do in Springfield. Your financial aid directly comes from Washington. And right now we are worried that whole programs are going to vanish and your ability to pay for college is going to go away. So even there's all kinds of issues that Heather just mentioned. The fact that your college students right now is an intensely politically influenced moment of your life, that people in Springfield and Washington are directly impacting your future and whether or not you can be here. So there's a lot, I think, interesting work of learning about the issues, raising up your voice, advocating to politicians, and then ultimately voting. That is part of what you can do to make your lives better as students. So I hope you don't mind me adding that on top of the work you do. I love this.
No, absolutely not, because you bring us back to a really great place before we close. This is the worker-centered theory of change. But in your space, and in your life, and in your experience, and maybe in whatever organizing you'll do, you will have your own theory of change. But what we're trying to change is the world. This is how we do it. But you raise your hand because you do environmental organizing. There are folks that are going to do it different. What I want to encourage you is to do something. When you leave this space today, sign up for a shameless plug, our membership card that you have on your seats. You can physically sign it and we'll input your information, or you can go to our website, which is at the bottom of that banner, to digitally sign. We use the phrase, make the worker center your political home, because this is an opportunity for you to join in community with people who are like-minded and looking also to make change. But if this is not the space for you, we have a whole bunch of coalitions that you can work with. Taylor showed them. I can't find them right now. But there are people out there who might fit your wheelhouse of change. And there are a lot more than this. But the possibility is endless. What you cannot do is nothing. So my challenge to you from this day for the rest of your life is do something, never do nothing. Does that sound good? All right.
One more round of applause. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. I want to encourage you as well. If you want to tap in with us, when I say we doing this work, I'm going to DC in like 4 hours to keep doing this work. So we're really doing this work. You can scan our Count on Me card. We have some upcoming events, even this weekend, coming up even through the month of October. Some chances in October to go to Springfield with us and talk to these politicians who are messing up your federal aid and tell them, hey, I need some money in my pocket, okay? So you have an opportunity to tap in with us, and this is not the end. There's stuff that isn't even on here, and there will be more. So please join in with us. And then lastly, follow us on social media. Our Linktree QR code is at the bottom. You can get to us. You can see what we're doing. You can see 1,000 pictures of us. When we go to Springfield in a few weeks, you can be in some pictures too.
Yeah, I was gonna
And
say,
you can share it with your friends and family so that we can all do this work together.
Yeah, I was gonna say, shameless plug, we pay for everything to go to Springfield. So if you wanna go to Springfield and experience with us, we're gonna be going in October. It's on the Count on Me form, so if you sign up, we are very happy to bring people with us to Springfield. We do advocacy trainings. We're gonna have advocacy trainings upcoming as well, where I will be, me and Mike, and one of our interns is gonna be teaching on how do we advocate and how do we navigate Springfield. And so if you want to go to Springfield, if you've never been to Springfield, come with us. Shameless plug, we pay for everything, food included. And so you don't have to worry about it. We just got to make sure that we get you. And then lastly, I do want to request a selfie with y'all. I'm a selfie person. So is it okay if you don't want to take pictures, I respect that. But if you would like to take a selfie with us, we would love to take a selfie. We'll probably just stand up and turn around. Is that all right with y'all? All right.
Thank y'all again for having us. We appreciate the opportunity to share space. Come up, keep talking to us, join in with us, lock in with us, and we hope to see y'all soon, and take care. And especially in these times, I want to definitely lift up, stay safe. Joy is still resistance, and take care of yourself and your community, all right? All right, be blessed.
Once again, also about this Springfield trip, I've been to the first time, and it's great. I was at the Springfield State Fair, and I saw some stuff I never thought I'd see before. So it's strength in numbers. Please come out. You'll learn something, and we can maybe teach the people who are in power that they need us more than we need them.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right. Anyone want to come get in our selfie with us? We're going to take it right here so that
They like
people who
no.
don't want to be in the picture. Okay, so I'm assuming everyone wants to be in the picture. So this is like
I'm gonna go on the other side.
full worker center. Yeah, I see folks in the back. Now, I hope y'all can see my frame because everyone's not in.